All right. I think that's ready to go here. I think that's ready to go here. Okay. Mute the other one here. All right, so I've got the carburetor. Got the carburetor rebuild kit here. The instructions for it. So I'm just going to take this a little at a time here. Hopefully I've got all the tools I need. Now, I let this soak in one of those cans for carburetor cleaners earlier today, just to get a lot of the gunk off the bottom of it. It did clean up pretty well. So, parts bin here, which is an old pot. And one thing, I've already taken off the automatic choke on the side here. Just part of the cleaning up process. This start to come off there. Okay. All right. Let's see here. See if there's anything I'm missing. That's something supposed to go on here where the bowl went. Let's see, 49, 48, 47, 46, 45. Fuel filter inlet, 49, spring, fuel inlet, filter. I didn't see all that in there. I didn't see anything in this part here that's showing. So hopefully it's not sitting down in the bucket there. All right, so that came off pretty good. Nice and easy there. Upside down. All right. Need to place this. So the McCalls stopped by this afternoon. Somebody left a drink here, so I'm gonna dump this out and use it to pour whatever the liquid is inside the bowl here. Don't want to pull that back into the bucket for cleaning. Let's see here. That's it. Accelerator pump. How does that come off? At least everything seems to work pretty good. There's not a lot of wobble around in it. This right here isn't turning that great. Maybe that's supposed to just be there. to check with the other one that I have over there. So, okay, this right here, 44 and 43. The idle adjusting needle and the idle spring. Let's just take that just to give it a look-see, just to see if it's, make sure it's in good shape. Okay. Needle looks pretty good. The spring has got some junk on it, so let me, oh, it's over there. Clean that up a little bit. A little bit of stuff down in here. See if I can get this. This plate cleaned up a little bit here. So they separated pretty easy. So. And if you got any tips on that, just throw it in the comments. It's a little delay here, but I can read your comments. I'll clean this up down here. It was really caked on down the bottom of it. Okay, I don't know what this screw part is here. Okay, all right, take this part here. The bottom part attaches to it. I don't know if it'll come apart. Don't wanna. Let me get a bigger screwdriver. Mine's not as wide as what I need it to be. Okay. So that came out. All right. Okay, both of those looks like there's a little connecting rod right here, so need to, that's that little pin. Okay. Pulled out. There's a replacement one in the kit, so set that aside. All right, now I've got these two apart. Okay, that doesn't look like it moves anywhere. You probably loosen it up and change your idle point, I guess. While I have this part, let me drop this in the bath of water or cleaner here. that soak a little more. Okay, take a look here. See how it looks in there. You get this gasket off the bottom. Yes, another gasket. See if I got a replacement one. Yeah, no. That one's similar to it. Yeah. I need to soak this one to get the gasket. Let the gasket come off too. I got the instructions that can. It just says you can let things soak for about 15-30 minutes. That's pretty good, but you can soak it longer. There's certain materials that it advises you not to soak for longer than 4 hours. So I did do some work on the 63 behind me today. I had a problem with the backup lights weren't coming on, so got the dash halfway tore apart from that. Since it's a automatic, the switch is up in the dash, and at one point I had it adjusted where the backup lights would come on but the car wouldn't start, and then when I adjusted it to where the car would start, the backup lights wouldn't come on. So it took just a lot of cleaning, some contact cleaner, and scraping off the carbon with a small screwdriver, and finally got it adjusted to the point where both of them worked. So it also allowed me a chance to put some more lubricant on the speedometer cable, since I get some chattering in there, and then the speedometer jumps up and down at certain speeds. Okay, hang on in here. All right, got that cleaned up here. So still trying to figure out a way to get the accelerator pump off. Well, let me set that aside. Let's take a look here. The float. So okay. I don't hear any water or anything inside the float, so when I had this whole thing submerged, nothing seeped into the floats. So that's a good sign. Let's see what parts they actually gave me here to replace. Okay. See if there's a okay. This gasket matches up with it. This one's got some extra holes on it. So that one is not a gasket for this. It's that gasket. There's that one. So let's put the springs, meter, bag here of a bunch of really small things that I'm not all that familiar with. I've never seen them on Corvair engine. So okay, this one's coming up pretty easy, except this part here screwed in on it. So okay, let's set this down in order. Oh, that was a shorter screw than I thought it was. All right, so this one's got a little spring underneath it, and right on top of that, it's a little ball bearing. Okay, we got this, another spring underneath it, which I don't see a replacement for that spring. Get the gasket off here. That new, let's see, what part is this? Can't find that on it. There it is, 9. I'll leave one seat. So. Okay, I don't know if I got this part. I think that's this one right here. So let me get this. Does that come out or does it go out this way? No, this way. Cool. Magnetic comes out like that. So there's. Screwdriver here. Does not want to come out. Screwdriver that's wide enough to go all the way across that gap. Maybe since it's a new one, or since I have a new one, I can grab it with the get it with a pair of pliers here. There, I broke it through. There's that. Get the gasket out. So, gasket kind of looks pretty good on this one. You know, for something that's been sitting for so long. That part really does look kind of good too, but this part here compared to the new one, it's looks a lot different as far as with the point on the end of it. Looks different. Just change that. Clean this up here where the some gasket material that was there. Gotta brass brush here. A lot of this looks fairly clean. There's where the choke is. Goes into that spot there. Whoa, there's another. Okay, that's the gasket for the choke. Did not see that in there before when I took it apart. Let me swap the two parts out with the parts washer and this, because since I've got this out quite a bit, and I don't think there's any other parts that's going to fall out from this. Instructions say to wash it off the water. I think I'm going to go spray this carb sheet cleaner. So let me run outside and do that real quick. And I just realized what I had here was not carb cleaner, it's my electronic switch cleaner. So I just picked it up and started spraying. So okay, still got some junk on the base here. It would be nice to throw this in a sandblaster real quick. A little be easy and be gentle on it. But switch to a different brush. I wonder if that is free all the way there. Yep, so this tube here runs down and there's a port right there. So I guess it's just a vacuum port probably. That goes up to the choke. Grease off of that. Still a lot of grease right around here. I'm trying to get out. said, I had this soaking for a good long while today, at least about an hour and a half, 2 hours while I was working on the 63. So we got a lot of stuff, a lot of junk off of it. Okay, let me borrow this. See where that's coming. Where's that coming out of? Okay. Let's see this port right here. There's another little opening right there. There's looks like several of them. Several small openings on the inside right there. Okay, let me set this aside. Back to here. Here's some of the stuff. It's residue in here after it's been soaking. It's just taking a rag and it's wiping up pretty easy. Let's see here. Okay. Probably could have used a small used toothbrush to get a lot of this out. Didn't think to bring that out here. Get the rest of this gasket off of here. See here, I went to a vendor open house and got some free Scotch-Brite. Which one's going to be? This one's probably going to be better. Let's see. It's a big enough surface area. Use a bigger brush. course, I still don't have an engine for it yet, so no way to test it. Accelerator pump. Push this down. So I'm going to push this down, clean the junk off of this. All right, how does that come out? Okay, it just does that. Push it down, push it forward. Nope. Those are adjustments. Flange gasket. Let's see how you take the accelerator pump out. That probably definitely needs to be changed. Hopefully I got the right accelerator pump. Oh, wait. Doing it all wrong. Comes out like that. Just pull the whole thing out. All right, so a little screwdriver. There it is. So there is a spring down in here. That spring looks like it's kind of stuck in here because there wasn't a replacement spring for that in the thing. So let's take a look at the, make sure it's the right one. So there we have old and new accelerator pumps. Make sure it's the right depth there. Okay, take the spring off. Put it on this one. Line this up. I'll let it go. Put it in there. All right. Now I've got it all back together. Oh, still has some liquid in there. So, all right. So that's all I can do with that part. So let's put the bottom back on. So the part that looks like this was what was attached to the middle part of the carburetor, and that part goes on the intake manifold. Let's see, make sure these holes lined up. This gasket has one extra hole here, but that hole doesn't exist on here. And it's covering up another hole. So, go figure. Oh, there's some trash in there. Let me get the air hose. So, line these holes up. filter. All right, these really big screws back in. Of course, I could do this better, spend hours and hours on it, make it look pretty. But I do have another carburetor, but the setup on it's just a little different than this one. It's probably the rebuild kit would work on that carburetor, but the way the fuel line comes into it and other things, it's just a little bit different than this 52 model. Accelerator pump popped out. Let's see, where's the old accelerator pump? Right here. Okay, that's got this thing kind of, it's almost like a piece of leather or something like that. I don't want to get much grease on that stuff. Let's see if I can put that back in there correctly without it. Okay, I think it went in correctly the first time, and then when this thing fell out, it didn't want to go in right. Or, let's see, I'm going to do it this way. This back over it. Just cut that off as it goes down, and you leave the cardboard on there as a guide. See if that'll work. Nah, cardboard's too thick. Trying to get this accelerator pump tucked in here. No, it doesn't want to go back the way it was before. All right, take it out again. See what's going on. Got the spring in there. Got this part's got a little spring around it as well. don't know, this might be a one-shot thing. You gotta put it in and that's it. Okay, plunger. Remove paper sleeve from leather cup if used. Flex leather outward slightly. Soak cup in gasoline, kerosene, or oil for a few minutes prior to placing it in the carburetor. Okay, I read the instructions. Let's see, gasoline, kerosene, or oil. I do have some kerosene. So let me pour out a little bit of that and let this soak. So it says let it soak in the kerosene for about a minute. Set that there. We'll pull the other part out of the parts washer now. Clean this residue off outside. All right, I got that cleaned off. All the little passageways seem to be clear. Let this off here. Still got a lot of junk in that part there. That's where I think where the vacuum hose will attach to. It's stuck on the outside. That works really good. No play in it, no slop in it. All right, so that's been soaking. Let's see if we can get this in here correctly. Unless it's supposed to go that way. Let's try to put this in the way the other one came out. So. The spring lined up in it there. The back side of it there is not wanting to go down. Down. Not moving very freely. Okay, it's moving. It's moving pretty good now. So, all right. So that was attached right here. That little pin. That. Yes. Okay, so that part is back on. Okay, let's move to the top. So I'm going to put this back in. This is a new one. That's the new here. Make sure it's tight. So compare the two. Yeah, there's a slight difference. The tip on the original one doesn't have a hard tip on it. It looks like it's more flat, and then the replacement one is more that. Let me see if it's one for design difference, and might have been a design difference down here. Just here, I'm gonna actually save a lot of the old parts too. Okay. was there. It was on top of that. Ball bearing there. That looks. Let me clean this part up. Just make sure there wasn't any junk in there. Is that right? Go this way. The old part. Okay, almost seems like I'm missing a part. Let me see if I can figure out what it is. Or I'm not missing a part. I've got a part in upside down. That's it. That had a spring underneath it. Let's go back and watch my video, see how I put this back together. Okay, that's the old one for that. Need to put the that needs to go on first before anything else. Okay, that's for 63 models. There is a spring underneath this. Maybe that's what, yeah. That's where that goes. Putting everything in backward. There's that. Okay, ball bearing there. It goes on top. This goes here. Tighten it down. Has another little spring on top. Line up with the ball bearing. Made it a lot easier. So what I did was just manually pull this down and then let the ball bearing seat in there, and then the spring on the bottom of this screw was able to go in there. All right, now we'll do the float adjustment here. And then for those of y'all, most time the float adjustment is made by bending this little tab up here. Let's see what the specs are on it. With bowl cover gasket in place, gauge from the gasket, surface top of each float. Adjustment data table starts at 63 and goes to 64. Whoop, also 59, 62 Pontiac. Chevrolet. Oh no, that's Acadian. Sorry. So 32 to 53 Chevrolet. Float level 1 and 9/32. Float drop 1 3/4. So let's measure to the top of the float. 1 and 9/32. Damn. Okay, this looks like one of them is 1 and 12/32. The other one is 14/32. Okay, so I'm going to bend the adjusting tab in just a little bit. That's it. And that one's at 12. That one's at 12. Check the bend up. Okay, that looks much because that one's an 8. That one's at, so one's at 9, one's at 8. So let me see if I can. I'm going to adjust that, get that. Bend one back up just a little bit. That's too far. Okay, that one's still right. This one's way off. Oh, there it is. 9. All right, so 1 3/4 on the drop. Let's see, the drop is drops to the top again. So that is too far of a drop. That is 2 and 8 on there. So that one's this tab back here. So putting that one in. It's kind of moved a little bit. It's 2 inches. That one's getting closer. That one's at 2 inches. It's almost 1 3/4 inches. So let me go back to the original measurement, see which one's off here. Because one of these have gotten off. That's right. That one's right. Nah, that one's gotten too high. That's about right. This one's doing a little bit. Almost there. That's 2. Still needs to go in just a little more. Trying to be as gentle as possible so I don't get the other measurement out of whack. Okay. Do it a little bit. It's 28. It's 24. Okay, so this one is correct on both measurements. This one is just a 30-second high. So I need to bring it down. Let me do this. Let me see if I'll just bend this one down a little bit. Yep, that's got it. Should be good on this side. Yep. So that's the float adjustment there. Now go and mount these two back together. All right. There's just 4 screws that attach to the top. And some of this other thing, once I got it all together, I'll just kind of clean the outside some more. Works. Let's see, what's my time? I've only been at it for an hour. That's not too bad for first time on this particular carburetor. Okay, I'm gonna connect this back up. Oh, this is a different size. The one that came in the kit has a different size. But I'll keep this for, you know, spare parts for something else later on. Okay. So there's a different, there's a lot of oddball spare parts, you know, the different models. See if I can clean out on the inside of this a little better. It's really gummed up there. And I'm still on the hunt for a different engine. So from what I can tell from the research I've done, I need to find a 54 and up 235 that was in a Power Glide, because there was a difference between the Power Glide and the standard engines. Different lifters, different horsepower ratings, stuff like that. So blow this stuff out. Oh, hey, how about this? That just popped out. Didn't realize I did that. Makes it easier to clean. Okay. So, portable parts washer. Some carbon, scrape it off. All right, and this tube right here should go right over here. I might have to loosen this up again. So I'm slip that on. Get it seated correctly. Oops. I'll tighten that up with a wrench. All right, so now we got that cleaned up. Okay, so it does have a flat spot on here, and there's a flat spot right there. So it doesn't look like you can really get this messed up unless you turn it around, and you can't turn it around the other way either. So it just goes in one direction. So it needs to go in straight. And that's the spring that goes on it. And then on the inside of it, on the outside, lean and rich, so you can adjust your choke there. Let's see here. Clean the edges up a little more. Get the same seat down in here. A lot easier than what it is when it's going in. There. Fit in fairly easy. Okay, so I had a gasket on the outside of it here, in between. Okay, now this was held on 3 screws, and I had these tiny little things right here. So get those put in, and they kind of grab a hold of the lip. Now they're not completely flat. They've got a little bevel to them. So hold it up with this, so you see the bevel on it. So the bevel kind of acts like a spring and keeps it in place. Screwdriver. I think these aren't so tight, so you can still adjust it a little bit. I'll probably go through the sheet and just look to see if there's anything I overlooked or anything like that. Okay, yeah, so you loosen them up a little bit. You can do your lean, make your lean rich adjustment, and then you can tighten them back up. Idle. Where's the I know I read that somewhere. Idle adjust needle, lightly bottom, then back out 1.5 turns. Okay, this part here. Okay, idle needle goes right here. Make sure that's clean. So that's bottom. So I said 1.5 turns. There's a half a turn, whole turn. There's another half turn. So, all right. There you go. I should have put my gloves on, but I didn't. But another thing I need to clean up is the fuel filter part. Now that attached to the side right here. So I'll take that apart, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I think that screws out, and then everything will slide. It'll slide down and stuff. But I'm gonna take that apart a lot gentler some other time. Might let it soak in some of that material a little more, and clean the glass bowl up pretty good. But let me get the other carburetor here, the one that somebody gave me. Thanks to Chris for giving me this. And I haven't run the numbers on this one, so if you set them side by side this way, it's got more different linkages, different hookups here for it. It's all, I think that's must be for a manual choke. and then the way the fuel comes in, this one the fuel comes in this way, and on this one the fuel comes in right here. So as this was sitting on the car, I think this way, and the front of the car is here, so the fuel would come up and it came in from the back, and then your accelerator and everything was here. So this one, so I don't know if I could use this one. I'm not sure, but it's still got, you know, the base on the bottom here looks pretty similar to it, but I have not run they're both Rochesters. See any numbers on this one? There's something there, but I can barely see it. That doesn't look like a factory number. So this one has, yeah, this one though, no other identifying marks on it right there. Well, there's some right there, 700 3536. So let's see if this one has it under there. That just says 700 5604. So this one is definitely a newer one. So that's the floats shaking around in there. So in an emergency, I could probably use that one. Run some different tubing or something like that to get the fuel lines to it, but it might be worthwhile to go ahead and get adapters made up or something like that if I had to use that one. You know, if I get to the point that I can do the great race and I need a spare carburetor, that's one there. So so there you have it. If you watch this live, thank you. If you're going to watch it on a rerun, thanks for watching it on a rerun. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the like button. Help me out there. And occasionally, if you haven't noticed, I do some shorts, just kind of some funny stuff I'll do with this. Not really all that serious stuff, but try to keep it lighthearted. But thanks again for watching. And if you have any comments or anything like that, if you noticed something that I should have done on here that I failed to do, please put it in the comments. I'll go back and I'll acknowledge you and go back and double check it. Other than that, I'll put this on a shelf till I find an engine. Thanks for watching.